news in many ways. Were there more questions or answered after this last weekend of college football for UG, Mac?
I would say yes. What do you think?
Not exactly the question, but okay, good try.
You said were there
Um,
questions answered? That was the
I said, are
question,
there
no?
more questions or answered after more
Oh, I
questions
thought you
or
said
answers
were
after this
questions
past weekend
answered.
of college football?
I thought you said were questions answered. I would say there's more questions, but there are absolutely several answers that were brought up this weekend as well. But I'd say
Yeah,
more
that's fair.
questions. Which direction do you head?
I think probably more questions. Things that we thought about Penn State, things that we maybe thought about
Yes.
Auburn, things that maybe we thought about LSU. Um, you look at a team like Tennessee. Do we now have more questions about them? And maybe not. This
Yep.
doesn't have to be negative. More questions about
No.
Mississippi State, as in, are they better than we thought they were going to be? Notre Dame. We kind of questioned. All right, we think they're good, but we don't really know if they're good. Maybe now maybe they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So it could go both ways, and I don't think the more questions part has to necessarily be negative. It's just that now we have to look at some of these teams in a little bit of a different light. So there was a
Sure.
lot this weekend. Alabama knocks off Georgia, and it's a huge win because of what that rivalry has been, the stage that a lot of those games have been on. That makes it massive, and I don't know if necessarily the way that it happened answers a lot of questions for Alabama. I think I came away with a lot more answers about Ty Simpson. I came away feeling better about him operating the offense, making difficult throws, making high difficulty throws, and being a
Yeah.
guy that team's going to be able to lean on. But you still had some drops. You still had some letdowns by the offensive line. You still had some guys on defense whose eyes played tricks on them and weren't in the right places. And with your next opponent, that's going to be a real issue. So, but either way, you go to Athens, you get that win. Ty Simpson, impressive. Alabama, impressive. Just being able to find a way to come out of there with a 24-21 win.
I thought it was a great win. I think it's by far the most impressive performance of the Kalen DeBoer era. And I'm gonna go one step further. I think it might be the most impressive performance, most gutsy win I've seen in since 2021 SEC championship game. I think I'd go that far. And I think that it just because that was one of those games, Cole, and one of the biggest conclusions watching it back. And I never watch special teams when I'm watching games ever, but I wanted to watch it here because I wanted to see the mentality of every single one of the players that actually dressed in this game. This game required all 70 guys that had a uniform on, and not all 70 saw the field, but this was a all hands on deck, us against the world. If I'm not playing, I'm going to be the best teammate I can be on the sideline. Like, this required a level of focus and intensity that this team has not often reached in the last 4 years. You can talk about pre-post Nick Saban. The last 4 years, this one required everybody. And timely stops on fourth down and third down, timely conversions on offense on third down, critical moments in third down in the red zone, critical moments along the line of scrimmage and trying to run out the clock in 4 minutes. Outside of a field goal that had a better chance of hitting the band than it did going through the uprights, it was a dang close to flawless performance in many ways. Like, I know it had issues. I know there were problems. Georgia's going to show some of those problems. But you weather the storm better than a Bama team has in years. And I think they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for it. And we'll get into all the nuance of it, but man alive. As a Bama fan, removing my analyst glasses, this is the most proud I've been of the team since COVID. Honestly, it was that impressive.
Something that we're probably not going to hear from Auburn alum and Auburn fans as they go down to Texas A&M. A lot of the same questions, speaking of questions and answers. Not a lot of answers offensively for some things that were put in front of them defensively by the Aggies. And defensively, Auburn did some good things. I feel like the narrative of how dominant the defense was is a little off, specifically against the run. because there are a lot of clean lanes that Texas A&M running backs had to be able to move the football. Now, you're also on the field for a lot of snaps. But, Greg, Auburn doesn't convert a third down
Yeah.
in an entire game. And it's this is not one where I think you walk away frustrated. This is not one, I mean, you do, but just walk away frustrated, just walk away thinking about what could have been. That was a lot of the Oklahoma game. This is one that you walk away from and start to ask some serious questions and seriously look in the mirror and say, do we need to make some real changes here? Are there going to be some things that if we don't change, they're not going to get right? And some of those are with the quarterback. And there's some real questions that need to be asked about where this offense is now and potentially has a chance to go at all moving forward. And I don't know the answers to some of those. But some of those questions, Greg, in the bye week are going to have to be at least asked.
100%. And this is one I remember it was on the same time as us. So I did not watch it live. I couldn't even have told you a highlight live. All I saw is that it was 13-3, and that was the last. I didn't even know they won or lost the game until I got home. So I was completely oblivious and kind of intentionally stayed away from it until I could watch the tape yesterday. Like, I really didn't want to even see the final score. Like, if you were to ask me Saturday night, what was the final score? I was like, don't tell me. I want to watch it and be surprised, or I just want to have an opinion based on the tape. And I don't want to know anything outside. I didn't want anything that affect me. It was the first tape I put on Sunday morning. And, yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, I'm not really not sure, like, how else to make you feel better. I've been saying for a couple weeks now, and you know what? This all started kind of back in fall camp. Like, remember when the defensive line was kicking the offensive line's tail in fall camp, and you're sitting there saying, like, yep, this is not good. This is supposed to be a strength. Like, this has some, like, Oklahoma State vibes to me from a year ago, where Oklahoma State was this preseason favorite in the Big 12. They have everybody back on the offensive line. Oh, look how much experience. And then you watch them and you're like, yeah, I don't know. This offensive line is just not it. You watch the tackles. They're just not it. I'm just having a hard time understanding what the deal is with the offensive line and why they've regressed so significantly. Because it's not just the quarterback. The offensive line got pushed back several times throughout this game.
It's disappointing. There are losses in a one-on-one capacity. I struggled last night watching it with not just the protection, because I tried to go back and I tried to get it. This might be one where there would be a lot of value in me watching the TV copy, because you would have more time between plays to sort of watch and get an idea of, once the team got to the line of scrimmage, the things that began to happen. But I tried to kind of go back and take closer looks at that. And there are a lot of pass plays that were adjusted. Now, you and I don't know what's being adjusted. PFF knows what's being adjusted and what the exact calls are and the checks are, but you and I don't really know that. But there were times that the quarterback would go to the line of scrimmage and, he goes up and says something to the center. He looks to the running back. Mm-hmm. You see the offensive lineman look back and forth. He's signaled to the receiver, all right, something's changing. We know that. We feel pretty good about that. And usually that would end up in some sort of quick protection. I don't feel like I need to go on a slide protection rant right now, but it's just not – there's not going to be a lot of good in that. But it would be a quicker protection. Three-quarter slide, full slide, something. Now, this is where it gets a little bit in the weeds for a lot of folks. When that happens – is it because of the overall threat? Was there something in the game plan because of an individual threat? Like, could have easily been, hey, we get 9 over there on the edge. We want to get it to him. We need help with him. Which, again, based on the way slide protection is going for a lot of teams right now, I don't feel like that helps you with one person, because it actually makes them more difficult to block with the way we're handling this a lot of the times. But that's, again, a story for another day. The problem that I had, maybe more so than anything else in this game, Greg, is once again, I'm not telling everybody that I know exactly what was checked to and what the calls were.
Right.
But I do know that things were checked to a quick protection. And when that happened more times than not, there were not quick answers in the route tree. And that is what I just find inexplicable. Because you obviously see an imminent threat. You are going out of your way to eliminate said threat. But it's literally like bringing the tanks to the battle without ammunition, in my opinion.
Yes. Fair.
When you keep running all verts, or you have these longer developing routes, yet you're checking the protection to something that you feel like is probably going to break down, because you don't go to that protection if you think it's going to be hunky-dory. That's not what that protection is for. And I was excited to talk to you today because I don't know route trees and passing concepts and passing game near as well as you do, but that is something that I had a hard time trying to find a way to understand when I was watching this film yesterday multiple times.
So as far as the quick adjustments, I'll be the first one to admit I did not see a lot of checks to quick set protection. I didn't see a lot of that. Let me tell you what I did see. I did see at least 3, maybe 4 times, and it wasn't always a sack, by the way. It wasn't always a sack. I saw at least 3, maybe 4 times in which a green dog add-on, a delayed blitz, got home without any problems whatsoever, which tells me one thing. Tells me that the offensive line, by the way, for example, one play, I think it was early. Let me look. I think it was early. I think it was play 22, thereabouts. I made a note of it. I just got to find my notes. There was one play early. You have tight end on the left side. You have left tackle on the left side. They're both blocking the defensive end. Well, guess what? The guy that is responsible for the tight end in coverage, well, when he sees the tight end blocks the defensive end, he decides to trigger. And guess what the tackle's doing? The tackle's just sitting there, minding his own business, taking a peek at it, watching the defensive end, helping the tight end. He's been coached to go one gap to
the left, and that's all he does. They don't play football. I mean,
that's the thing. Like, to me, the offensive line's lack of awareness is a problem. Here's the other thing that drives me insane. You know what my biggest pet peeve is in protection? Like, literally, my biggest pet peeve, and it was on the left side again. And by the way, this is not me picking on the left tackle. This is me acknowledging that the left side and the right side, and guess what? Your best offensive lineman, your center, got dump trucked in this game. It happens. It is what it is. Here's the thing that drives me most insane in protection. A&M, what do we know they do with pretty decent regularity on obvious passing situations? They're going to do some games up front, right? They got athletic defensive ends. They got athletic defensive tackles. They're going to do some twists. They're going to do some stunts, right? Like, that's not new. Like, they've been doing that forever. Guess what? Everybody in college football does that on 3rd and long when they don't really want to sacrifice a man in coverage. So they'll do some twists up front, and hopefully they mess you up. There were at least 2 or 3 times in which a twist by a defensive tackle going out, setting a pick for the defensive end who's going to loop around and apply internal rush. Guess who's responsible now for the defensive end because they couldn't pass it off? The running back. Guess what's not ideal? I don't know, defensive end against a running back in pass rush. Everyone wants to blame the offensive line. Don't get me wrong. I think in the perfect world, they'd pick that up. But is it the scheme? Because the running back having to block the defensive end in twists, in a TE twist, is a real big issue. And it happened a few times. And then you also had a couple times where they're pushing the pocket right up the middle. Like, if you're not sound with the middle, your quarterback's got no shot. And guess what? You can talk about slide protection. You can talk about man protection. You can talk about doing adjustments here, adjustments there. When your center just gets bull rushed and is on his back, that's an issue. And guess what? A&M's good up front. But that can't happen. And it happened a couple times in which they just got pushed right up the middle, and there's nowhere for Jackson Arnold to go.
There is, but the one thing that I would say to that, the one area that I would push back is that when you do run the protection in the way that they do most times, you're eliminating any potential help, and you're almost it's conceptually you feel like you're helping everyone, but the problem is, Greg, these D coordinators are too good. The D coordinators are too good at this league to keep running this. they know how to beat it. Like you just said, with trigger blitzes, guys waiting to see if somebody's blocking, and then they come.
Right.
Or doing what Elko is brilliant with and showing 3D linemen to one side, 2 stand-up linebackers to the other side. You slide it to the 3D lineman. Well, that's not where the pressure's coming from. And guess what? Immediately we got you. I mean,
Yes.
I talked about it in our game because Kentucky kept sliding their protection. And I told Jordan and Tom, I said, guys, Clayton White's too good for this. Clayton White's not dumb. He understands. I'm going to show you all this over here because guess what I know you're going to do? You're going to panic, and you're going to gap everybody over to that side. And that means if I can catch one guy not working in harmony, in sync together, and I can probably do that with a defensive lineman on the opposite side, because all I got to do is occupy your backside guard and keep him from sliding over with everybody, and that center's going to think he has to keep going, and here comes my loop man half a second later, and you got nobody even close to being able to pick him up.
Yep.
The concept of it is it's becoming prehistoric because the D coordinators are onto it. And like I said, it has its place. It does. But when it's your base protection and guys know how to work around it, that's when it gets you in trouble. You also bring up a good point. Did Connor Lew get beat one-on-one a couple of times? Yes. Did Jeremiah Wright? Yes. Did both tackles? Yes. 100%. Absolutely.
For sure.
But
they lost
there are ways around this to just say, hey, there's 5 guys that look like they're coming. We're going to man this up because somebody's probably not coming. And then that's going to allow either my left guard or my center or my right tackle to be able to help somebody else. Instead of just drifting out into space to the right or to the left because this is our fallback protection that we feel like we need to go to and the only one that we think we can operate with.
Correct. You know how to slow things down, though? Do me a favor. You have the tape pulled up real quick. You know how to slow things down? I almost completely forgot about this play, and then I just looked at my notes and pulled them up finally. Look at play number 49. Pull up play number 49. For those of you that are not capable of going straight to our little tape software, you sit there and you look at it and you think to yourself, you know what, offensive line's struggling. You know what we need to do, guys? We need to kind of change the launch point. We got to move the pocket. We got to take some of the pressure off because these guys are having their hands full, man. Like, this is a good D-line. No one's going to deny that A&M's got good personnel. A&M's top 10 team, rightfully so. They're very, very good. To expect to go in, by the way, and win this game was unlikely. Okay? So we can move beyond. This would have been like winning 2 games if they won this game. A&M's off a bye and you're at their place. Like, you weren't winning this game. Okay, so it's a challenging circumstance to begin with. Now it's about getting back to the drawing board. There's plenty still to play for. You're going to be in good shape. You got Auburn coming. You got Georgia coming to town in a couple weeks. Like, we're good. Get back to the drawing board. But go look at play number 49. Ball's on the right hash. They what you call a little counter, like a little jet sweep counter RPO. So you can hand it off on the inside. It's essentially triple option. You can hand it off zone read to the right-hand side. If the defensive end stays square and Judge jumps the quarterback, boom, you just roll slightly to your left and you throw it nice and easy out into the flat to Malcolm Simmons, who has leverage and nothing but about 30 yards of green grass right in front of him. What does Jackson Arnold do in this play, Cole? You're watching it now. How would you describe
but we're
this?
not. Our numbers are not. I'm not on telemetry, so something's wrong here. My 49. My 49 is a drop back and a screen right into an A&M defender.
All right, I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up. Auburn offense. Well, just for the sake of time, okay. For the sake of time, it is going to be about, I don't know. It's beside the point. For the sake of time, Jackson Arnold's 6 yards away, maybe, at most. He might throw the ball 107 miles an hour to Malcolm Simmons, and he might throw it high. If he throws a nice little touch pass out to Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah, this is the one where he was rolling out and
rolling
throws it like
left,
it's a little bit off of his back shoulder, just a little bit.
Yes, just slight. Yeah, it's a 6-yard throw. The guy's in the flat. You make that throw. Guess what they can't do anymore? If you show the willingness and the ability to hit some of these flat routes on the move, guess what they can't do? Pin their ears back anymore. Why? Because you can jump leverage in the blink of an eye with one of your running backs and or one of your wide receivers that's getting to the flat. But like Jackson Arnold's arm doesn't scare anybody. So guess what they're doing? They're pinning the ears back. That's why I told you after the Baylor game, I said, man, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm concerned. Remember after the Baylor game, everyone was wanting to have a hallelujah, kumbaya moment. I sat there and said, man, I'm concerned. And you're like, what? Why? I'm like, because this recipe is not replicable. It's not replicable. Not against SEC teams. This drop back scramble, one to run type of mentality is not going to work. Like, he's got to show some growth as a passer. And then guess what? We watched him play against the two teams that he played since. And we watched him play against Oklahoma. And he's not a good deep ball thrower. You can say, oh, well, he hit 2 balls down the field to Cam Coleman. Both throws were off target. Cam Coleman just happened to make amazing catches. He also missed one to Cam Coleman, which would have been a touchdown. Might have won the game at Oklahoma. So he's got to learn how to play the position. He can't be a linebacker playing quarterback. He needs to learn how to play the position. A little nuance, a little touch, a little feel. Watch Dante Moore. Look how in control he is. Look how calm things feel when he's moving. Watch Ty Simpson, how under control he looks when he's playing. With Jackson Earl, everything looks like a strain.
When he was rolling to his right 2 different times in this game, Greg, and threw the ball, I mean, first off, he was in a full sprint, which that's tough. There's not often that a quarterback is rolling in full sprint and throwing the football. I know people see him on the move, but that's just not usually the way it operates. I thought he was going to fall down after he threw the ball. But that's how out of control it was.
He's out of control. I agree.
And it's just kind of like, yeah. Okay. So it goes back to some of the things that we now maybe have some real questions about. How's it going to work? What's it going to be?
There's plenty there. There's a lot of good on this tape. This tape is more about so many missed opportunities. And I know people don't want to hear that. But there's so many plays that are right there. That are right there, ready to be made, and they're just not. And they need to be made if they're going to win these games, especially in this league, man. This is a hard league, man. You got to make the plays that are there. And if you miss them, guess what? If you miss a short throw that could have been a 20-yard gain, you might as well have just sack fumbled. Seriously, it's almost the same now. Like, the margins are too tight. You can't miss plays.
All right, we'll get to a break. Come back. Paul Finebaum be with us first. Greg, tell our listeners about Canty.
Well, Canty can fix it, that's for sure. They are the foundation specialists in our area that we trust. So if you're noticing some things around your home, look, in our area, it's tricky. We have a beautiful place that we live in here in Alabama, but we have some uneven ground. We have moisture. We have weather. We also have a lot of older homes. So if you're noticing cracks in the walls, cracks in the floors, around the windows, around the doors, if you're noticing doors that aren't closing properly, maybe windows that aren't sticking, maybe you're noticing a little bit of slanting or some standing water around the foundation or basement. That's why Canty Foundation Specialists are there to help you out. They offer free inspections and estimates so homeowners know exactly what's going on under their house. Their work is backed by lifetime transferable warranties. Call them today at 205-509-3991 or go online to Canty, C-A-N-T-E-Y, canfixit.com. That's Canty, canfixit.com.
All right, when we come back, we've got Paul Finebaum to discuss Alabama, Auburn, and Arkansas firing Sam Pittman next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Monday, September 29th, 7:27 a.m. He joins us each and every week at this time, thanks to our friend at Craneworks. It's Paul Finebaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Finebaum on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Finebaum.
Paul, always great to have you in on a Monday. A lot to get to, but I want to start with Arkansas firing Sam Pittman. Not overly surprising with not only the way that game looked against Notre Dame, but the way that things have gone so far this season. Now we see this morning that Bobby Petrino has dismissed Travis Williams, defensive line coach Deke Adams, and co-DC Marcus Woodson. So he is beginning staff overhauls on his own. Does that give you an indication of where this is going next?
It does. And let me start by saying Sam Pittman should have never been brought back this season. It was a major blunder by Hunter Yurachek. And I really think it's more on him than it is Sam Pittman. We all love Sam Pittman, but I don't know why anybody thought this was going to have a different outcome. I think from the moment Bobby Petrino walked into that building, it was obvious he was going to be the next head coach, and it just seemed likely. He's popular. He understands not only the job, but he understands the school. And I don't think you go and do what he did today if you don't have a green light. You guys understand it, and everyone listening understands that you don't start making major overhauls in the middle of the season unless the athletic director has given you reason to do so. All this conversation about Bobby Petrino's past I read from the national media is utterly absurd. We live in a country where forgiveness is part of our language and our beliefs, and what he did or what he has done years ago is long past, and it shouldn't even be part of the conversation.
Paul, I think we all said this, like, you never hire your own replacement. And it does feel like you said the second he was hired, it was trending in this direction. Did they make him hire Bobby Petrino? I guess I just am having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around it now, thinking back on it.
Greg, I think when you're in Sam Pittman's spot, the walls are closing in around you. You try to survive, and I never quite believed his statements at the time, but he really didn't have much choice. He had a very poor hand, and he was trying to extend his stay, and why not? He's never been a head coach. He never will be a head coach again. He's having the time of his life. Everybody loves him. He loves it. He loves the job. So and by the way, he did extend his stay. It didn't work, but he gave it a shot. And I can't blame him for that. But I know I went. The long answer is I think he was forced into hiring Bobby Petrino.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, and you know how big the win was for Alabama over the weekend, Paul. They go into Athens. Offense moves the football on a fairly regular basis. Defense got some stops when they needed to. Pretty big deal for Kalen DeBoer to get this W. What did you come out thinking overall of just Alabama standing nationally, Alabama standing in the SEC, and Kalen DeBoer's standing with Alabama fans?
It was a monumental victory for the school and for Kalen DeBoer. And being in Athens for 2 days and seeing all the signs about Nick Saban and the Georgia record is more about Nick Saban than it is about Kalen DeBoer. All those signs and all those sayings go into the trash heap on this Monday morning, because the one stat that is going to loom largest out of this weekend is Kalen DeBoer is 2-0 against Kirby Smart. And that is a remarkable record for someone who has taken as many hits as Kalen DeBoer, and as recently as a month ago, right here by me and many other people. So I think that is such a monster story. The other story is Ty Simpson, who I don't grade film like you guys, but from the naked eye, I mean, he looked outstanding. He was easily the best quarterback in the game, and I think you're right now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And And in late September, talking about the Heisman seems somewhat ridiculous. But if you are talking about the Heisman and not talking about Ty Simpson, then you are equally clueless. It was as important a win about Alabama as it was about telling everyone who Georgia is. Georgia's somewhat what we thought they were. They got exposed against Tennessee and somehow stole the win, and as a result, we kind of looked past it. But something tells me this morning in Athens, Kirby Smart is probably not that surprised.
It's I think a remarkable win. And I like I said it earlier, I think it's by far the best win in the Kalen DeBoer era. And frankly, Paul, I think it's the best performance I've seen from an Alabama team collectively since COVID. Like, I really believe that. That one required all hands on deck. And it was hard, and it was going to be hard, and it wasn't going to be perfect. It wasn't flawless, but it required tremendous intensity, and they were able to do that. And it was really fun to watch from an alumnus vantage point. Does this now kind of, and you referenced his record now against Kirby. He's 2-0 against Kirby. But you also have to factor in these 7-0 against Dan Lanning, Kirby, and Sarkisian. And yet, Kalen DeBoer still is not widely accepted as the best guy for the job. What are we doing? Like, can we please remove that conversation from the lexicon? Because it's, to me, absolutely absurd. The guy can coach his tail off, and everyone else acknowledges it too. He's unbelievable.
Without a doubt. And I think last year we often said collectively that the Georgia win was the worst thing that happened to him, because they let the next week get away, and they never could completely and consistently recover. And this is going to sound, I'm going to sound like a fan at the end of the bar here, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I now believe it. I wasn't sure about it during the ULM and Wisconsin game, because it seemed a little bit surreal. But in some ways, that loss to Florida State may you know what I'm about to say, may have been the best thing that ever happened to Alabama. Yes. Because it sent shockwaves through this program and through the system, and how they were able to put it back together again quickly, dramatically, and coherently is the story of this season right now for me, because I've watched all the games like you have, and I certainly want to see Miami this weekend, and Ohio State is looking quite good. But right now, Alabama looks like one of the best teams in the country, and especially from an SEC standpoint, without an SEC loss, and I think they're very capable of winning it all.
Paul, on the other side of the state, there are a lot of Auburn fans that I think are to their wits' end with the Hugh Freeze era. Greg brought some clarity to it a little bit earlier, saying that he thinks a lot was left on the field, that there are a lot of positives and a lot of things that could quickly be overhauled and changed. Where do you sort of view where things are with Hugh Freeze as the Auburn head football coach?
Well, it's easy to take shots, and I understand it. We've all heard the same thing since Saturday afternoon. But it's difficult to win when you have a quarterback as ineffective as Jackson Arnold, and he doesn't make great decisions. I mean, I don't have a ranking of the 16 SEC quarterbacks in front of me, but I know where he's not, and I have a pretty good idea where he is. I mean, he's at or near the bottom, and that's really the problem. You can say Hugh Freeze can't call the right play, can't get the right movement going, but ultimately his quarterback makes very poor decisions. Really impressed with Auburn's defense. I know I may be saying that all the way to a 500 record. But that defense has kept them in two brutal road games in the SEC, and it's really too bad that Auburn just keeps making so many mistakes offensively and can't get very much going, because I think this team is very capable of winning. Now, I think they're far more capable of being a Georgia or an Alabama or somebody like that at home than they are on the road.
Paul, when you look at, first of all, to me, I didn't expect Auburn to win this game. The fact they made it somewhat close to me kind of says a lot about the competitive character. It's going to be a hard one, though. A&M's coming off a bye. A&M's well-rested. A&M's in a really good spot. And, frankly, their roster's better. So I think A&M's pretty dang sporty. And the fact that they lost this game on the road, to me, is not some indicator of future results. However, I do think that because of this loss, they now play Georgia next week. And I'm not usually one in the middle of the year that's saying must win. But I am trending towards that game being a must win. And by the way, one I think they can get. How do you view that game in 2 weeks?
Greg, it is a must win because if you have 3 losses sitting there on October 11th with the schedule ahead, then your chances of really accomplishing very much are not very good. And it's pretty obvious. I mean, Georgia may be outstanding in November. They may figure some things out, but right now they're not. They're not a great team. And on the road at Jordan-Hare, I'll make this quick. We know what Auburn is capable of there. Even inferior Auburn teams have come very close to beating excellent elite Georgia teams. So that's a tremendous opportunity for them, and one that they have to close the deal on. And I really think that I think they have a reasonable shot. It's 12 days off, but I think the season is going to hang in the balance.
You guys both. I'm gonna ask both of you guys this question. You say must win or what? The schedule doesn't lighten up.
I mean must win, or the season is going to just spiral out of control. And I don't mean anything in relation to coaching futures and all that, but you lose that game and it's at home, and a lot of the hope for any kind of decent season goes out the window. That's what I mean.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I'm not saying like all of a sudden, people are getting fired or anything like that. It's just the hopes of being a spoiler and a dark horse in the SEC and all the other things, like it gets extinguished in a loss to Georgia. A win against
there
Georgia,
are still those
meanwhile,
hopes, Greg?
Dude, if you really look at the schedule, like by the way, I think 9-3 is getting in the SEC championship game this year. Or not in the SEC championship game. I think 9-3's got a real good argument in the playoff. I really do. And I think that if you look at how they're playing defense, so tell me for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, the games that Auburn is with 100%
No, I know what
certainty
I'm
losing.
sorry to kind of have this back and forth here, Paul. I think I know where you're going, and that is that Arkansas, Kentucky, Mercer are gettable late. Missouri is looking less and less gettable. Their quarterback just completed 21 straight passes in a game. Vanderbilt is looking less and less gettable. They're doing things that hadn't been done since the 1800s as far as that program's concerned. Alabama doesn't look gettable at all.
They were also down 7 at one point to Utah State. Like, I mean, Vandy is good, but
if I'm not mistaken, so was A&M. A&M couldn't move the ball in Utah State, so maybe it's not the Auburn defense that's that good. It's Utah State's defense.
Vandy in 5 weeks might be different than Vandy today. That's all I'm saying. You and
Let's
I both
finish
know
with
that.
Paul,
with
and then you and I
issues.
can have a whole show to do this.
Sorry, Paul.
That's okay. No, I'm just sitting here.
No, you're good. And let me ask you, we haven't really hit this yet. Like, Kirby Smart, like, now is lost. Like, I understand very much, like, what circumstances are around him. But, like, where is Kirby in your eyes now? Like, where is the Georgia program in your eyes now after this game this past weekend?
Well, I don't want to be too quick to judge Kirby Smart, because last year at times it looked pretty desolate, and he was able to figure things out. I don't know how. He told me Friday night in Athens when he was with us, and you guys will just start laughing. He said, "I'm just so excited about this defense." I mean, it was like he was coaching a peewee team, and he was trying to bring a bunch of kids along. That told me he didn't have much faith, but he's experienced. Kirby's such a great communicator and great coach about masking the problems, and I think he knows he has serious problems, and I think he's going to view the Auburn game as the litmus test of the entire season, because he's still got Ole Miss and Texas. He's got other games at Georgia Tech. He knows he can't drop a game against a middle to bottom team with everything else going.
Paul, we always appreciate the time. Sorry that we made you sit there and listen to our back and forth, but we look forward to having you back next Monday.
I'm going to keep listening the rest of the show.
Where are you at this week, Paul? Where are y'all at?
We're in Gainesville. We want to visit Billy Napier.
Oh, nice. Tell him I say hey.
I will. I'll tell him goodbye for you.
Thank you, Paul. There you go. Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Greg and I continue our discussions amongst each other next on Chalks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:45 Monday, September 29th, right here on Jocks. Arkansas has fired Sam Pittman, and as I just stated with Paul Finebaum a few moments ago, now Bobby Petrino, the interim head coach, has begun to make moves, firing what appears to be the majority of the defensive staff, Greg. And that, to me, as we alluded with Paul, Travis Williams, Deacon Adams, Marcus Woodson, all gone. Via Bobby Petrino as the head coach tells you that he'll have more decisions to be made as not just the interim, but maybe the actual head coach here soon.
Well, help me understand this. Like, since when does the interim get that much power that quickly?
That's my point, is that
have you ever seen anything
by
like
him
it, though?
doing
like,
this,
ever?
That tells me – now what you do see a lot of times is, so-and-so parting ways. When a coordinator or a position coach doesn't like the interim that takes over and he's like, or that's his guy that got fired, and they're just like, you know what, we ain't doing it. We're out. We'll just go ahead and find the next thing. Not going to sit around and let this thing continue to happen. You don't necessarily see interim head coach with news breaking that he has made the decision to relieve 3 or 4 staffers on the other side of the ball of their jobs, because you're not technically the real head coach. You're just, hey, man, hold on to this, steer the ship until we get to the dock, and then we'll actually go find a real captain. But thanks for keeping us alive. That's essentially what it is, and this just feels odd.
I've never seen anything like it. Usually, if they're going to let someone go, it's coming from the perspective of, hey, the AD is, also relieved of their duties so-and-so. Like, that's the only time I can ever remember it being that way, right? Like, it's not ever like Bobby Petrino the interim coach has since decided to do this. The interim coach has since decided to do that. And maybe this was the only appropriate way for them to get Bobby Petrino back in the head coaching job, is for him to kind of be the OC and then be promoted to the interim, and then they show progress and they remove the interim tag. Because had he been just hired plain as day, there would have been a lot of people in the court of public opinion that would have made a stink about it. Whether they should or shouldn't, people would have made a big, deal about it, right? So this to me makes sense if that's why they ended up doing what they did. But I've just never seen an interim coach that get this much juice and get this much done in a span of 24 hours.
I saw an interesting headline, and we're going to get back to Auburn. We're going to get back to Alabama throughout the course of the show today. But I saw this headline from Pat Forty, and I thought it was interesting. He tweeted out a couple hours ago, today, dash first quarter on Arkansas's remarkable tolerance for Bobby Petrino and some other options for its next head coach. I don't think that I could have stated that any better. And it begs that question, Greg, why? And I don't have an answer for it. Maybe you do. I know the guy can call plays. I'll never say that he can't call plays. Never. But the tolerance may be more than remarkable for Bobby Petrino in Fayetteville.
I guess part of my thing, and I feel like a lot of people have kind of gotten to this point, like, I think some people just want to win games. Like, come hell or high water, they want to win games. And the last time that people don't care that Scott Frost left at UCF. And I'm not comparing the situations, but like there used to be like
different there.
No. What I'm getting at though is like the bad blood that was created when he left. Like no one cares anymore. Like bad blood now goes away. I feel like very quickly, in an effort to get back to, better days. Right? Like, oh, well, when Bobby Petrino was there were better days. So therefore, like, we won't pay attention to what transpired, in his time away. We're only going to focus on the better days that were created under his leadership. And I'm not an Arkansas fan. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just think it's pretty remarkable that he's back in the position that he's in, given the way he left. It's almost unthinkable. Like that things could come full circle 12 years later. And we'll see what happens. And I don't know if he ultimately is going to get the job. It's just crazy to think how quickly things have been either ignored or forgotten about in an effort to kind of get back to trying to win games, like whatever it takes. It's just kind of crazy. I'm just surprised, frankly. It's kind of the only way I know how to describe it.
No, it's totally fair. All right, well, we got that one and a lot more to discuss. Tell our listeners about ProLift first, Greg.
Well, ProLift Doors, they have been doing a great job. In our community, they got 200 plus 5-star reviews. They work on existing garage doors for repairs. They can also install new ones. You don't pay for the service call. You only pay for the work, not for the visit. They can service all brands of garage doors. They can upgrade the appearance with your home with garage doors. And if you are noticing just some unusual issues with your garage door, whether it's garage door slow response times, vibrations, unusual noises, you can call for a maintenance service. They serve in Baldwin counties, for those of you listening down the Bay Area. And they also are, of course, here locally. You can call Mike here locally, Jeffrey in Baldwin County, but just go online. That's going to be the easiest way to find the correct number for you. Go to proliftdoors.com. That's proliftdoors.com. ProLift Garage Doors, lifting your expectations.
All right, I see some of you on hold. We'll get to you on the other side. 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk Auburn, Alabama, other college football from over the weekend. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. Back with more right after this on Jocks. Monday, September 29th, right here on Jocks. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's talk some Auburn, Alabama football from over the weekend. Ramon is in Alabaster. He's been patient through the break on the Higginbotham hotline. Ramon, welcome in.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
I got a couple of questions. I got a question for both of you guys. Watching Auburn play and watching Jackson, and I know I found myself watching the quarterback. Greg, he could probably attest to this, but I'm watching the quarterback, and I'm looking, there's a clock in my head, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and right around 1,003, okay, this ball has to be gone. I mean, he is surpassing every time he drops back to throw the ball. It's nearly, if there's a pressure, it's nearly a sack or he's under duress. And I don't know the internal clock, but I do know one thing that I noticed, Auburn has missed tremendously over the last 2 years in this NIL portal free agency on the left tackle position. And with Percy Miller last year, and Chapman this year, the success has to come. They got to move Dylan Wade back to left tackle. I haven't got to Mason Murphy yet, but Wade needs to go back to left tackle. Ideally, he's not the ideal size at 6'4", 315, but he's athletic enough to block these edges where these other guys, they're not. I mean, it's like they're stepping in mud. They're handsy, they get their hands on people, and they think the pass rush stopped in.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Ramon. It's a great thought. We'll discuss it a little bit further on the other side next, right here on Jocks.